My guest in the Nimataion today is Angel Millar, and together we are spinning a yarn. Angel, you're a chaos magician, hypnotist, author of The Three Stages of Initiatic Spirituality and the Path of the Warrior Mystic. And today you're here. I'm glad.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Bernard. It's nice to be speaking with you.
Wonderful. So, what has been your favorite childhood story?
Yes, well, so we're going to talk about the Black Hole movie, which I actually mentioned in my previous book. So I realized, how much of an effect it must have had on me since I saw it, 40 years ago, whenever it was. And yeah, so the Black Hole movie is a pretty obscure sci-fi movie, and I'm not especially a sci-fi fan, but it's a really intriguing and very dark and disturbing movie that's sort of been forgotten unfairly, I think.
Yes.
And yeah, it was Disney started making it before Star Wars and then ended it or finished it after Star Wars. So it has these kind of little sort of R2D2 robots in it, which are slightly hokey, but otherwise it's an incredibly dark and mysterious movie. But just to sum up the plot, there is a spaceship with a crew going through space, and it's returning from its voyage when it comes across a black hole and an abandoned, huge abandoned spaceship that seemed to have been lost and unrecoverable before. So they decide to investigate it and find that it has a whole crew. And it is run by a mysterious and somewhat sinister figure with a German accent called Dr. Reinhardt. And all seems to be fairly well, though certainly very strange at the beginning. But it turns out that he has turned his entire crew into androids. So they're sort of effectively these sort of zombie-like half machine robots walking around. And then of course they try to escape this sort of nightmarish haunted house in space and get sucked into the black hole and go through to the other side. And there's some lots of mysterious imagery in that as well. An angel appears before the spaceship and leads them through this sort of tunnel that looks like rather like church or cathedral windows, and it's as if they're going not just from sort of one universe to the next because they come out in some sort of empty universe, but also escaping, what Hindus would call the Kali Yuga, the Dark Age, and going through to the Sattva Yuga, the Golden Age, where they're going to begin again. Yeah, and it's very strange, and there are little things that people involved in magic would pick up on. So, for example, Kate, one of the crew of the Cygnus that comes across this abandoned ship, actually has psychic powers, and she can communicate with her mind. Although that's kind of forgotten later on.
Mm.
But even the fact that it's forgotten is interesting because if you read Norse sagas, very often you're told, oh, she has psychic powers, and then it's forgotten as well. So it's almost although it's probably a mistake, it's also in a way kind of traditional that you hear that or very sort of classical. So yeah, it's a very intriguing, very dark, moody, mysterious movie.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, there's Maximilian, the
That's right. Yeah.
really, really scary robot.
That's right. That's right. And Maximilian is a kind of floating Darth Vader figure, but in a way, I think is almost kind of cooler than Darth Vader, and he's this sort of red machine, and yeah,
This,
well, he seems to be purely machine, and then at the end of the movie, you see his sort of human eyes through the visor, which is very creepy. But
mm,
at the very end, he's standing on this rock, and he has these multiple arms, and it's all red, and it really reminds me of sort of images of Shiva, this sort of multi-armed god in space, the
mm.
destroyer. So who knows if they picked up on these things, but I think you can see a lot of these very strange archetypes, to use a Jungian term, in that movie in a very weird and interesting way. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what was it especially in this movie or this movie as a general that
Yeah.
inspired you so much or impregnated itself on you?
Yes, well, definitely Maximilian. I think that was, and this image, one of the scenes, because I hadn't seen it for decades, and when I was thinking about it, and one of the scenes I definitely remembered was, Maximilian, this sort of multi-armed, almost, Shiva-like, you know, machine being in this sort of rubble of the universe, you know. So that was something, and I think the scene that really struck me, other than that, was the funeral of the androids, because you know we think that they're sort of robots or uh, up until that point, and then it turns out that actually you know they're sort of half human. They're basically you know sort of dead, but you know being kept alive as sort of half machines. And then we see a funeral for them as if something, you know, not only do they have some humanity, but they also have maybe some sense of the spiritual. And it just seemed very weird that this would be going on in this environment and sort of, I don't know, profound and mystical as well. So,
Mm.
mm.
So it's a total sense of liminality. Could you say that? The event horizon
Definitely.
to the black hole, the liminality between human and androids and dark and light, all this.
Definitely. Well, they're literally in this liminal space, right? Not only in space, but also right on the edge of the black hole that
Yeah.
they're about to get sucked into or go through, and they don't know what's on the other side. And they're sort of in between these worlds or in
Mm.
between these two universes. So yeah, that's right. Everything is kind of in between.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a state that we use as magicians to harness power to impregnate our will or what have you. It's do you have a preferred method to enter this state, or maybe even do you use the imagery of this movie for you?
I don't use the imagery of this movie literally.
Mm,
That's true. But yeah, to enter the sort of liminal state, yes. Well, as someone who you know, practices hypnotism with other people, you know, I would say that, um, you know, I'm really good at entering trance states and hypnagogia. Hypnagogia is a st
mm,
state where you start dreaming. So that I can do relatively easily. So yeah, for me, I use, you know, a form of self-hypnosis. So yeah.
mm. And in this state of hypnagogia, uh, I assume you do some programming of your subconscious, let's call it that, and then you get sucked through the black hole into a new universe.
Right, right. Yes, that is true. And one of the things, of course, that happens with the dreaming is you start to have very short dreams or images of scenes. I mean, I very often have scenes of, you know, nature or you know, very elaborate gardens and sometimes people as well. So, they're always quite mythic, it has to be said, but sometimes they're extremely so, and extremely strange. So that's interesting in itself.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a kind of trademark of the imaginal world that it appears
Definitely.
as mythic and
Yeah,
we
yeah,
know it instinctively.
yeah,
We try to describe it as archetypes or yeah, we interact with these strange metaphors.
yeah, definitely. Very much so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so that's a great metaphor in itself, this movie, for this
It
kind
is. It
of
is. Yeah. And
state.
you know, I hadn't actually thought of that until you said it. But yeah, the sort of penetrating the black hole and coming out the other side, you know, it's very much, or, you know, entering some other universe, you might say, is very much a metaphor for entering, you know, trance or gnosis, you know, and receiving these visions. Yeah. So definitely. So that's right. Yeah. It's interesting. Maybe, yes. So yeah, we should explore that more, one of us at least. Yeah, definitely.
Great. Thank you, Angel.
Thank you.
That has been a fantastic conversation. And
Great, great.
yeah, thank you for letting us in and guiding us through the black hole. And
Yeah, well, I hope people that are interested in the esoteric check it out because it really is an intriguing movie that's just been forgotten and is well worth a look. It has to be said. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And make sure to check out Angel's website and YouTube channel. That's linked below. And yeah, look forward to
yeah.
talk with you again.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And thank you. The world is magical.